being in America, growing up in America is probably a lot different than growing up in Egypt or Sudan. I grew up in a very like Arab and Muslim household as first generation in the U.S. and first child. You experience kind of like both cultures. Like, you go to school and you're kind of, you want to be like, I don't know, you try and relate to your friends. But then at home, you kind of have not totally different, but kind of like it was very different culturally, I guess.
My parents, they grew up in the Middle East, like all their lives until like they were like 30 some, whatever, and when we came here. So I guess there's definitely been a lot of like differences and conflicts, I guess you can say, between me and my parents because, the way that I've grown up here, living, totally Americanized, it's not as conservative as they have. So a lot of times they don't agree with, what I think is right or what I think I'm doing because like that's the norm, but they don't see it as the norm. Like football games in high school, how like you wear like sports bra, you like paint your stomach or whatever for like the number. Like they thought that was like, oh my god, like you're basically going like shirtless to an event at school, like that's totally not appropriate. And when it comes to boys and stuff, the Middle East, they don't really date guys. They it's like, you meet a guy and then you get married. So I guess that's something else that was very differing and they had to get used to.
Both my parents were raised under very traditional households. My mom had 4 brothers, my dad had 3 sisters. So you'd say it was very like, just very Arab, like that's the best way I can describe it. And I was raised with 2 sisters. So I don't know the comparison of being raised with a boy, like because I just wouldn't understand it. And then also I feel like my parents, while maybe not as open-minded as many American families, they are still pretty open-minded considering. I mean, they let me get a tattoo. Well, my mom let me get a tattoo. So I think that's progress. My dad, while he's very religious, he always keeps an open mind with us, and he's made it a personal goal to get us an education because his sisters didn't really get that chance, so he wants us to have that. And I think the same thing with my mom. She didn't really get a chance for education growing up, so she wanted us to have that.
I mean, they're very different. I'm first generation American, so my parents still have like very old school views. Like, you don't have a boyfriend, you kind of, it's not really an arranged marriage, but like they want to know who you're going to marry and they're going to help you find that person. I differ in that like I want to meet as many people as I can and experience things before I go and marry someone. That's like one of the main differences between my parents and I. And also they're very, they want their daughters to be modest and everything, and I have a very different view on that. I want to express myself while I'm here and then figure out who I am. So those are the main differences, I would say.
Growing up in this country, I just had things way easier than they did. They both, grew up in Africa, and so they kind of dealt with way more than I had to. And also they had to deal with the restrictions of the culture and stuff, and in America things are way more open and free, so I was able to decide if I wanted to actually follow the culture. I feel over there, if you kind of decide you don't want to wear the hijab, or you don't want to, you kind of want to lash out, you're going to be criticized more than over here.